Once upon a time, in a bustling city filled with fancy high-rises and crowded streets, lived an ordinary guy named Jerome. Jerome was just your average Joe. A little goofy, not very academic, and often found himself lost in thought or completely blanking out in the middle of conversations. You know those moments when you can't recall a simple fact no matter how hard you try? Like the name of that actor you vaguely recognize or the capital of a country you're pretty sure you know? Well, those moments happen to Jerome a lot. And it wasn't just the names and capitals either. Simple, everyday tasks like remembering appointments, keeping track of deadlines, and even recalling recent events were a constant struggle for him. Sometimes Jerome would set reminders to jog his memory. But even those failed him. Edie! Look at the reminder and still have no clue what it was supposed to remind him of. But Jerome wasn't too bothered by his forgetfulness. He figured it's just how he was wired. Some people are good with numbers, others with words, and he was good with nothing in particular. That is, until one day when his mom suggested he spend a week with a Jewish family in their village. She thought it might do him some good. Now, this family was different from everyone Jerome knew. They had a sprawling home filled with books and quirky gadgets, and their table was always filled with food and lively discussions. The father was a retired engineer known for his problem-solving skills. The mother, a history teacher, could recall obscure facts with ease. And their two kids were the smartest in their class. At first, Jerome felt out of place. During meals, the family would engage in deep discussions about everything, from philosophy to politics, peppering their conversation with witty banter and playful debates. They challenged each other's opinions, not to win an argument, but to dig deeper, to find better solutions, and to learn from one another. Even their kids participated in these discussions, respectfully disagreeing with their parents and backing up their points with well-reasoned arguments. Meanwhile, Jerome sat there with his fork halfway to his mouth, unsure of what to say or how to respond. He wanted to join in, but he felt like he didn't know enough, that he wouldn't be able to keep up. Yet there was something about the atmosphere in that house, something about the way they encouraged each other's curiosity that made him want to try. Slowly, Jerome began to open up. He started asking questions, not because he couldn't understand, but because he wanted to explore an idea further to understand it better. He began to see that being smart wasn't about having all the answers. It was about asking the right questions. The family noticed Jerome's transformation, and they were delighted. They shared their techniques with him, their tricks to remember names, their methods to make complex ideas easier to grasp, and their approaches to make learning more engaging and fun. For example, when Jerome struggled to remember a name, the father would turn it into a silly image. The mother would relate it to a similar fact she already knew, and the kids would make up a funny story involving the new information. Jerome was skeptical at first, but he tried their methods and, to his surprise, they worked. He began to remember more names, more facts, more stories. And it wasn't just about remembering. It was about understanding, about connecting the dots, about seeing the bigger picture. As the week went by, Jerome's confidence grew. He started to think differently, to question everything, to explore new ideas. He realized that being smart wasn't about having a big brain or a photographic memory. It was about being curious, asking questions, and never stopping the learning process. On the last day before he left, the family gathered in the living room. They presented Jerome with a book, a collection of quotes about wisdom and intelligence. You don't become a genius by trying to be someone else. Read one quote. You become brilliant by learning how to be fully yourself. Jerome pondered these words. He understood now that he didn't need to change who he was to be smart. He just needed to learn how to use his brain better. From that day on, Jerome's life changed. He started reading more, asking questions, and engaging in discussions. He joined a local debate club, surprising everyone, including himself, with his sharp wit and logical arguments. Jerome didn't become a genius overnight, but he became smarter, not just academically, but in how he approached life. He learned to think on his feet, to challenge assumptions, and to back up his opinions with evidence. He also learned that being smart wasn't about impressing others, but about enriching his own life and understanding the world around him better.